All right, theme song in 3, 2, 1. All right, welcome back to the Constitutionals podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. That theme song is so long, and I have no idea. It says on the app I use to play the songs, it's 57 seconds long, and I think I start talking 30 seconds into it as it comes down. But I mean, I like it. And maybe there'll be a point in time when it gets shortened, but not now. In fact, I'm going to Google one of my favorite podcasts, how long their theme song is, because it seems to be a minute 37 seconds. It just starts playing. It's a minute and 37 seconds, and I guess I listen to it every week. I don't skip through it. And how long is this other one? I'm not going to say the names of these podcasts because I don't need anybody in my business. How long is that? Hold on. That's not even that's from 1934. Okay, let's see. Mute the computer. Is this the right one? Yeah, it's okay. That's 20 seconds. You know, I remember there was a point in time where everybody should remember this, where TV shows had theme songs and they were long. You know, the Friends theme songs on cartoons had theme songs. You don't have that anymore. Now you just have like splash pages. Hey, do you guys remember the past? Remember when? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that guy. Episode 277. Last week was the 300th episode. 300. Can you believe it? Before we get to anything, I interviewed the cast of In the Know on Peacock. Who was it? Charlie Bushnell. I'm going to see if I can do this without even looking it up. Charlie Bushnell, Caitlin Riley, Carl Tart, J. Smith Cameron, Brandon Gardner. I think that's right, and I'm not going to look it up. But I interviewed them. It's a great 20-minute interview. 1938, whatever, who cares? You can find it on youtube.com/C+comedy under the interview. Under the interviews. It's really funny. Yesterday, I sat down. It's not funny at all. I sat down. The show's funny. This is not funny. This is a bad anecdote. I sat down to record the intro to that interview so I could put it up on the Constitutionals feed. However, I realized that I did not do that for my first what is it called? Junket. I didn't do that for The War with Grandpa because I didn't see the need to do so. But the reason is it's so difficult to put up a junket in audio form with multiple people talking. I know I've done it before with also because they're huge names, but Adam Devine and Megan Amram. I did it with, most recently Tony Shalhoub and Andy Breckman, but it was just the two of them versus this being five people that I talked to in three sets. It was hard to put that up, and I did the same thing with. I also did a junket interview with the cast of Ted. Let me see if I can do this. Alana Eubank, Scott Grimes, Georgia Wingham, Max Burkholder. I got this. Hold on. Brad Walsh, Paul Corrigan. Boom. I did that all with that. If you're watching the video, you saw me just continue looking at myself, trying to remember this. and the monitor. Again, the monitor is camera right. Not the monitor. The monitor is a giant curved 38 or 42. It might be 38. It might be 32. 32-inch curved monitor. Everything's up in quadrants. And my monitor for myself is right here. Anyway, Jesus. All this extraneous information. I have a lot of stuff to get to. So I have those two. They are live on youtube.com/C+Comedy under the interviews, the cast of Ted, the cast of In the Know, both on Peacock. There was another show I was supposed to interview some people for season 2. That show's in the middle of its second season, and I'm currently still waiting. I emailed them last week. We said, it was like 2 weeks prior that they're like, hey, you want to do this? I was like, yeah. And I put it on my calendar, and because I'm very organized. And last week I went, I didn't talk to these people. And it's people that I know and I think are very funny, and I could probably reach out to them on Instagram, and it's like 5 people. I think I can get like at least 3 of them by myself. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be rude, but I'm going to need responses to this email. They're like, and I sent out an email last week, and they're like, don't worry, it's coming. What I think happened is they forgot to set up this interview, and it's not going to happen. That's it. There was also another, I don't know if I talked about this, but somebody put me on a list, and a big comedian, he's fairly well known. He's actually very well known. And I said, and they were like, if you want opportunity to talk, email. And so I emailed the team, and they asked me to do, I don't know if I talked about this, but they asked me to do, they were like, do you have this lookbook or whatever? And do you have a action card or whatever? So I sent them, so I made all this crap up, and I sent it to them. I didn't make it up, but like I put all the I Googled what that stuff was, and then I sent it to them, and then they took like a day to respond. Like, we're not gonna be able to do this. It wasn't like I'll just say it. Zack Snyder's people. This is a separate. The comedian was a separate thing. Zack Snyder's people. I got somebody put me on a list, and they're like, "This is what's happening." And then I sent it. No. I sent an email blind. That's right, for Zack Snyder. I sent an email blind, and then to one person, and they responded with a team of people, and they're like, "What do you need?" And I was like, "Just give me like 20 minutes." And they're like, "Not gonna be able to happen." And then he goes on to talk to like some shitty website. He goes on to talk to like furries.go or something and reveals stuff about like Zack Snyder's Justice League. Why are you talking to those websites? Talk to me, man. Come on. He's always on like beeper.biz revealing information. You talk to C+ Comedy, baby, you'll have a better conversation you'll have with donate.fart. Anyway, the comedian thing, they denied me, and then a week ago I got an email from those same people or somebody else on that team. You want to do an interview? He's had a global impact and blah blah blah. If you want assets, if you want an interview, email us. I'm just like, you guys told me no a month ago. All right, let's get into this. This comes from Gothamist, written by Ryan. I'm wearing one contact because my other contacts died. So it's going to be tough for me to do this. Ryan, Kylath, and Precious Fondren. What does Donald Glover have to do with Brooklyn Furries and an evacuated comedy club? There was an event that happened last week. 2 events that happened last week. Mark Norman, the comedian, was performing in New York, and I don't remember what comedy club it was, but he was performing in New York, and you can see I saw this on Twitter. a video going around of Mark performing, and then a guy gets up on stage. He doesn't attack Mark. He doesn't do anything. He says something. Like, he says, "Get up and get out." Yes, he says, "Get up and get out." And Mark Norman, and then like the bouncers come, and like the servers come, and they get the guy off stage. They don't rush him off. They just get him off. He doesn't do anything. And then Mark is flummoxed. He goes, "This is strange." And then one of the host, the MC, comes up and says, "We need everybody to evacuate the building." So that was strange. And then the night before that, Tyra Banks was at the Brooklyn Nets game at the Barclays Center, and she was sitting courtside when just out of nowhere, a bunch of furries come and sit next to her, and she is in between them, kind of, I don't know, just not, she's not into it, but she's definitely on her face questioning what's happening. What it turns out. And then an artist, Timothy Goodman, announced on TikTok that a pair of his shoes that he designed were stolen at a launch party. The lights went out and then they were just gone. The NYPD said it had received no complaints of missing shoes and evacuated Comic Club or furries on the loose. Such a dumb line. It turns out, if you saw any of this pop up online, it turns out it's all a part from a group called Hi, H-I-H-I, where both H's are capitalized, and they're all they were shared on Donald Glover's social media accounts. He shared each video of these incidents, and it looks like it to be a stunt for the show Mr. and Mrs. Smith on Prime. Excuse me. The company Hi, I guess, organization. Verb is an LA-based or marketing company that had a thing called Hi Mission Contest. And what it did was winning participants would be selected to carry out various quote-unquote missions taking place at a, quote, culture event in New York City, according to an image shared on Twitter. And again, this looks like it is an Amazon Prime stunt of some sort. I don't understand how any of this is connected, but if these are the answers that we got, and somehow Tyra Banks and Mark Norman are connected, like, that's insane. But Mark Norman did not understand what was going on, and I don't think he was in on it. He just seemed kind of perplexed in the same way that Tyra Banks was when things happened. And there are people who were given free tickets to this comedy show, and they seemed to be disappointed. This is what a couple said. The Lawsons said that nothing seemed out of the ordinary when they arrived and were seated. We were informed that it was a taping, Tarka said. They brought us in as VIP guests and they sat us down because it seems like they won tickets to this. But the Lawsons said they began feeling different emotions as the incident unfolded. Personally, my first instinct is to get out of here. Yes, when something like that happens, when somebody goes on stage of a comedian and they're like, "Get up, get out," then Jesus, yes, of course. Said Yinka, and my wife's first instinct is, what's going on? I want to find out more. I'm a curious person. I'm not going to lie. At his wife, Tarka, I was like, wait, I want to see what's happening. Tarka said people began running out of the theater, and that was when someone who appeared to be the producer said, no, there's no danger, but we just need you guys to leave, walk, take your time. They described it as a letdown. They won't say that they were furious. Thankfully, no one was hurt or injured. They were just disappointed. I don't understand why these things have to happen. That wasn't interesting. It wasn't funny, and it wasn't something that should be going on, especially in a time when, people are storming capitals. All right, hey, this comes from The Verge. We're gonna have a couple of stories about Apple, written by Amitra Khalid. Apple tells artists how much more money they can make with spatial audio. We know Apple has, in terms of the more mainline music streaming services, Apple has the best audio. Well, I think Tidal's mainline. So Apple has the second best audio, followed by Spotify, YouTube. Prime. I think it goes Tidal, Prime, Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music. Doesn't matter. They've been notoriously not very good on the royalties, as has every other streaming app save for Tidal, I believe. And they just announced, Apple, that they're adding a 10% increased payout for Apple Music tracks with spatial audio, even if the users don't listen to that version. Spatial audio is their essentially Dolby Atmos for audio. You put on supported headphones. I think any headphones work, but if you put on, Dolby Atmos is the is the audio. Spatial audio is their kind of beefed up, souped up version. But you put on any headset, and you can hear drums in the back corner if that's where they're playing in the track, and you can hear separation of everything, and it's really good. It works, and when it works really well. But there are authors who use it in not so good ways. The thing is, though, not everybody can use spatial audio. Not every artist can use spatial audio because, again, it works for any headphone. But because Apple is very, anybody not using it correctly or putting it through its muster, apparently, later on this article, they mentioned they're very strict on who can use it. So if you want to use it, then you have to produce like good music, essentially. But anyway, this is quoted by Music Business Worldwide. It says that starting with January's month-end payout, quote, pro rata shares for spatial audio available plays will be calculated using a factor of 1.1, while non-spatial audio plays will continue using a factor of 1. So you get 10% more. Bloomberg reported in December that Apple planned to offer financial incentives for musicians and record labels to release songs in Dolby Atmos supported format. So again, this is not. So I had it wrong before. So Dolby Atmos is, again, they're the top audio version, or audio format for Apple Music. There's other ones out there. Then spatial audio, which should be pretty easy. If you go to the Apple Music app, which I'm not subscribed to right now, but if you go to that app, you should be able to look and see that something is in spatial audio. Otherwise, it will tell you when it's not. That's good news. According to a note from Apple Music, there's been a 5,000% in songs available spatial audio since the launch of the feature in 2021, but Apple didn't give an exact figure on the increase of what that increase represents. Spatial audio is available on Tidal and Amazon Music. Oh, I didn't know that. As well as streaming video platforms like Netflix and HBO Max, which I did know. You can use spatial audio on Netflix on your phone, and you can also use it on the TV. And because I have a sound bar, I can't really tell the difference, but it should work better for people without sound bars and things like that to make your sound better. Now, speaking of Apple, we're going to continue doing this. Apple, this comes from IGN, written by Tyler Lyles. It's where I saw it first. That's the only reason why I have this link to IGN. Apple finally lets other companies launch their own storefronts in the App Store. Now, it's because of a change in the European Union. It's not like, I trust the writers at IGN. It just seems kind of stupid that I'm using them. Apple's new App Store policies have launched, and now in the European Union, because of that ruling, they're allowed to. People are now allowed, or other app stores are allowed to be launched. In the European App Store, a single app capable of streaming all the games available in their portfolio. So Epic can now release an Epic Games launcher for iOS that features Fortnite and the rest of their games that they produce without having to release Fortnite on the App Store and be subject to Apple's 30% charge for in-app purchases. We'll get to that. The new policy will let the developers show iOS users what plugins, mini games, streaming games, and chatbots are available within their app. Additionally, the revised policy will implement Apple's in-app purchase system. An example includes someone paying for a cloud streaming service or an AI chatbot subscription. Again, you'll be able to subscribe to Xbox Game Pass in Europe on your phone and give the other company more of the money, as opposed to giving Apple 30%, and then they have to split the other 70%. Google's doing the same thing, which, well, I mean, Google has been doing the same thing, more or less. And they're going to have to change some stuff, too. Now, speaking of Epic, this comes from The Verge, written by Emma Roth. Epic's Tim Sweeney calls App Store changes hot garbage. And this comes from Business Insider, written by Lakshmi Varanasi. Spotify CEO Daniel Ek says Apple's new App Store changes are a new low. It does not seem that people are enjoying these things. Why do these open up twice? I only clicked on these once. Now, Tim Sweeney's problem with it, because again, this is the guy from Epic. He claims Apple is forcing them to, quote, choose between App Store exclusivity and the store terms, which will be illegal under DMA, or accept a new, also illegal, anti-competitive scheme rife with new junk fees on downloads and new Apple taxes on payments they don't process. Now, that comes from the Verge article. Sweeney is likely referring to the new 50 quid, around 54 cents, core technology fee Apple will charge for each annual install for apps downloaded over 1 million times in the EU. They're really, that's truly nickel and diming. That is so crazy that Apple could do that. Oh my God. He says Apple could technically block Epic from launching its storefront. And the same goes for Microsoft, Valve, Google Games, and others. The Spotify guy, Daniel Ek, indicates that that this is the new low. And they still don't think the rules apply to them. A core technology fee just seems like Spotify, the company, described it in a statement, the core technology fee, as an extortion, plain and simple. The fee will hurt developers because, again, you're still charging a hefty price. Potential startups and those offering free apps who might not have the funds to pay Apple, especially if their app suddenly goes viral. Imagine an app like that was made by one person, like Wordle. That wasn't an app. That was a website. But imagine if that was an app. Or Flappy Bird. Is that what that one was called? And that was made by one person, and suddenly their app is downloaded 1 million times. And now they have ads in there, and that's how they make, just a handful of money. They're not trying to make the most money in the world. Suddenly it's downloaded 1 million times. Now they've got to pay 54 cents on the dollar for, and I don't know if that's true, but 54 a fee, 54 cents on the dollar for everything they sell. For their ads, versus 30% in the App Store. It's still bad. This is not good for developers. This is not good for anybody. Last week because this episode's a week late. They announced this as if it's going to be the answer to everything, but it's kind of like they're subsidizing the Vision Pro with the videos that just came out, which are the videos that came out this week. So far, I've only seen Epic and Spotify and a handful of other big name places and people say something. I don't really follow small developers or anything like that, so I don't know. That's what I was saying. Oh, I'm cool. I don't follow small developers. I only follow the big guys. EA, yes, please. Who listens to Qbuzz anyway? Qbuzz is a music streaming app. Both Epic and Spotify are some of Apple's most outspoken critics, with both companies hitting back at the 27% tax on purchases made outside the App Store in the U.S. The solution would probably have to be, they didn't lose this case, and it would probably have to involve the EU putting up strict guidelines on how much they could charge, but they probably won't do that. They went as far as they could, and now It's going to have to be up to Apple to listen to the developers, which I don't know if that's going to happen. Hey, this comes from The Verge again, written by Emma Roth. Netflix is going to take away its cheapest ad-free plan. Well, the news is out. Netflix, the Apple of streaming video, is getting rid of of its cheapest plan, the cheapest ad streaming plan, ad-free plan. That $12 a month plan. Netflix's cheapest ad-free plan after that's getting rid of, is the $15.49 for basic ad-free. It's a giant spike. Otherwise, if you want ads, you will have to pay $7 per month. And then the other tier is the $23 per month for the premium tier. This is all driven because of they had a stellar Q4 based upon people, the crackdown on password sharing. People still want to use Netflix. It's still, out of all the streamers, it's the most versatile and the most popular. And it seems kind of, and I'm quoting Scott Galloway, is that his name? From Pivot, the Pivot podcast. It's a utility at this point. Netflix is a utility. You have internet, you have water, and then you have Netflix. Because now you can you can go to Apple TV and say, I'm going to watch Monarch, I'm going to watch Ted Lasso, and then I'm done. And then you're going to stop for the next month. But with Netflix, even if you don't like Queer Eye, well, then they have Stranger Things. If you don't like Stranger Things, they have Extraction 2. If you don't like those movies, then they have Lift. Then they're going to get wrestling. This is a step in the worst direction. You'll see articles and pieces all over the internet that say Netflix is turning a cable. This has been happening for the past 4 years. This is the third price increase in 3 years. It added 13.1 million subscribers during the final quarter of 2023. The total number is 247 million people globally. Million accounts globally, not people. At some point, I'm going to guess, not even guess, I'm going to assume we're going to be paying for Netflix gaming. That's going to be a whole thing on its own. You know what? You're charging me $23 right now. Make it even $25. Get rid of Netflix gaming from inside the Netflix app and just let it be its own hub thing. It's the 10-year deal for WWE for Monday Night Raw is $5 billion. That is a bad sign for Peacock. Peacock was the home to I think all of the wrestling stuff that aired on USA, all the WWE stuff that aired on USA, stuff that aired on Fox, I believe. I don't know if that was true. I don't know if that's true. That's just me saying things because I don't watch wrestling. Although sometimes when I'm cooking and I'm watching like Law and Order after PBS NewsHour went off, and then Law and Order will go off and then WWE will start, and I'll see things. So that's as much wrestling as I've seen in the past couple of years. I did try to get into it. It's very true. It wasn't my thing, but I do respect those people. I think wrestling is a very entertaining sport, to say the least. NBC's Universal currently has a library of WWE content on its service, but it doesn't air Monday Night Raw live. So again, this is just for Monday Night Raw. $5 billion. Monday Night Raw is, just like a baseball game, just like basketball, just like football. People will watch it, just like soccer. Well, I don't know what the ratings are on soccer, but golf, baseball, basketball, and football, I know have solid ratings. Just look at the Chiefs game, that Chiefs Baltimore game. Some of the highest ratings in the past couple of years. Blame the Swifties on that. NBC Universal's Peacock currently has its library of WWE content on the service, but it doesn't air Monday Night Raw live. Peacock also still has the rights to the WWE's premium events like Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, which get great things on their own. Get great things on their own. All right. Just typing down the title of this new episode. This is a huge step for Netflix. Getting rid of their basic ad-free plan, which would stream, I believe, 1080p. Right? Basic ad-free was 1080p with no ads. Multiple streams and switched on downloads. Okay. And how Netflix is. Okay. All right. Anyway. But live sports was the next logical step for them. And now, in a year, when they raise prices to exactly $25, 23 is so odd. They're not going to land on 23. They're going to go to 25. When they raise prices to $25, people are going to hem and haw, but they're not going to cancel. And it's going to be look at Peacock. People were angry that they had the previous Chiefs game. But that game did so well. That Saturday night game that drove so many signups for Peacock because it was a Peacock exclusive. You couldn't watch it with the NFL Sunday Ticket. You couldn't watch it on broadcast. You had to have Peacock, or you had to go to a bar that would stream it for you, or go to a friend's house or whatever. Look at Max. They just delayed their sports add-on. You if you subscribe right now, you get the sports add-on, but they were going to charge for it. But now the technology is not there for them to work correctly, for them to launch it and charge the $4 or $5 for it. So they're still giving it to you, but it's still important that you can still get NBA games and baseball games and hockey games on there. Soccer works for Peacock and for Paramount Plus. Soccer works for Apple TV Plus. Sports are what people are keeping YouTube TV for. They're keeping Sling TV for. They're keeping all of these internet cable things because it's important to them. How have live events proved well for them? Well, they had they've had 2 golfing live events, or they had 1 live golfing event and there's 1 coming up, I believe. They might have had 2 and there's 1 coming up, but I know there's 1 coming up. And I watched the Las Vegas events and they were good. The stream handled it pretty well. I think there were some dips, even though I have Google Fiber here and there. We've got they had the first live one, which was the golfing competition between PGA pros and F1 racers. And there's a live tennis match this March between Rafael Nadal, my guy, and Carlos Alcaraz, my other guy. Netflix is only going to get bigger, and there's never going to be a point where we see prices dip. We are never, ever. The cheap streaming is over. It's only going to be expensive from here if you want ad-free, if you want 4K, if you want sports on top of it. They're as close to a super app in America that we will allow. Because Americans, I've mentioned this before, don't want they don't want one app to do everything. They don't want one app to communicate. They don't want one app to watch things. They don't want one app to socialize. They want one app to do each and every one of those things. And maybe and then some. Because if you look at Spotify wants you to do audiobooks. They want you to do music. They want you to do podcasts. It's the most confusing app to jump around. In China, super apps are all the rage. They're popular. And Elon Musk wanted to make super apps. That's what he wants to do with Twitter. But it's just not going to work because people aren't going to subscribe to that. This is, again, in 5 years, Peacock, Netflix will be $30. And we will see only the big players. In 5 years, we will see only the big players. I think some form of cable like YouTube TV, Hulu with live TV. Well, don't quote me on Hulu live TV. I don't know what Disney's going to do with that. Folded into Disney Plus. But we're only going to see a handful of these streaming apps because none of these other ones can make money. Peacock is not going to be around in a couple of years. They'll either have to partner up and be folded into one another, and assets will be sold off and bought and everything, or they will die out. Look at Paramount Plus. They're struggling right now to even have jobs for people. So what does that do for the others? I have to take 2 stories and move them to the next episode because I've gone over my time. Did I type in? Oh, I added 11 to that. That's wrong. But that's exactly what it does. That's what's going to happen. And we're all to blame because we, and me in particular, because I'm the one who stays subscribed to these things. But just because Apple set aside $1 billion for Apple TV Plus doesn't mean that it's going to be successful. And they're already looking for people to partner up. That's why they're bringing in Paramount Plus, and you can subscribe to channels on Apple TV Plus, because it's going to be easier for you. Because you're going to be scrolling through your Apple TV or your iPhone or whatever, and say, "Oh, well, it's there. I'm going to watch it there." Even if you're not watching their thing, Apple TV is the hub. They'd like for you to subscribe to Apple TV Plus. They'd like to buy, movies and TV shows. I was going to name a movie and TV show, but I couldn't name one movie. Was that one with Justin Timberlake, that drama? So there's that. It's probably going to be, and those apps, the apps that are going to stick around are going to be Max, even though they're not doing too well, but it's going to be Max. It's going to be Disney Plus with some form of Hulu and ESPN element to where that's going to be, double X amount of money. There's also going to be Netflix, obviously, but who knows what's going to happen with Paramount Plus and Peacock, and I'm guessing they're just going to have to die at some point. All right. Listen, I've been talking for a long time. So if you like what you heard here and you want to see a video version of the show, go to youtube.com/C+comedy, where you can see me sitting in the same shirt I recorded LinkedIn logs in just 37 minutes ago. You can see video versions of the other podcasts as well on youtube.com/C+comedy. You can subscribe to other podcasts on wherever you get your podcasts. The other podcasts include LinkedIn Logs, the business job show, I guess, where I try to get a job or talk about the job market. And Late Night Lately, which is the late night show. That's what that show is. And talk about late night. Video version is youtube.com/C+comedy. Rate, review, subscribe to all that stuff. Tell your friends. Oh, wait, social media. TikTok, Facebook. Let me turn this down. Twitter, Instagram @C+comedy, me @ChadBlackWhite. Oh, the interviews. Check out the interviews on youtube.com/C+comedy. I just talked to the cast of Ted. Again, I mentioned it. And the cast of In the Know. They're both great interviews. Sit down, spend a good hour watching me make a jackass of myself. Thank you for listening, and I appreciate it. Bye.